Right, on to heating, air conditioning and ventilation. Now it's a legal requirement in the UK for every car with a windscreen to have at least demist function. So if you're not bothered about cockpit heating, or you want to keep the weight down for say a road track car, then these little electric demisters may be all you need. Two of these, one in front of the driver, one in front of the passenger, mounted at the base of the windscreen, either on the top of the dash or beneath the dash with this little vent panel sticking through, will give you just about adequate demist to comply with the current regulations. These are not really powerful enough to make a significant difference to the heating of your car, but even so, a pair of these draws a hefty 28 amps from your battery. So this is the reason why electric heating in a car is not really a practical proposition. So if you're looking for powerful heating and demist for your car, then a hot water powered system that is fed from your engine is the way to go, and there are several options. This one here, for example, is a very compact unit. It has an aluminium heat exchanger and it puts out the equivalent of over 5 kilowatts of heat. It's a 3-speed fan on here, a double squirrel cage, and it comes with the wiring and a switch, and it also comes with a plenum that fits over the front, and you can cut these outlets open so you can have demist, face vents or footwell vents, whichever you choose. Just open up the outlets by sawing the ends off with a hacksaw. The inlet and outlet of the heat exchanger, or the matrix, end with a piece of 15mm copper with a bead on it. So you can use standard 15mm heater hose, but we would always recommend that for any heater hose connection inside the cockpit of the car, you double hose clip the joint. You wouldn't want to be in the cockpit of a car if the heater hose comes off. You can feed the heater hoses through a grommet in a bulkhead into your engine bay, or you could use one of these bulkhead connectors. These are available straight like this one, or with 90 degrees on one side. Your engine may already have inlet and outlet ports for your heater feed and return, in which case just use those. But if it doesn't, you have to take a feed from the top hose and a return back into the bottom hose, and again you can use a T-piece with a 15mm T on it. You'll notice for this demonstration that we haven't used hose clips on every joint. Now, depending on where your heater is installed in relation to its height to the engine, you may need to install a little bleed valve to get the air out of the heater system. This one's very compact and it's got a little brass thumb screw on it. You may wish to install a valve that can control the flow of hot water through your heater from full flow to nothing. This is a cable operated one that has a dash mounted sliding control. Or there's this very simple rotary one which mounts to the back of your dash. The control shaft pokes through the front of your dash and you just put a rotary knob on the front. And when it comes to distributing the air around the cockpit of your car, there are all sorts of valves and vents and ducting and plenums available which will help you direct the air exactly where you need it. For instance, I've connected a piece of lightweight 63mm ducting onto one of the larger outlets of the plenum, and I've taken it to one of these 100mm vents which rotates and opens and closes. This can be a face vent or a demist vent or a footwell vent. Or I've connected a piece of 38mm ducting to one of the smaller outlets in this plenum, and I can use one of these little under dash plenums, and you bond this to the underside of your dash just at the base of the windscreen. You put the ducting on it, and then you can cut some holes in the top of your dash and let in these little tiny letterbox vents in the top, so that's all you see. Here's a three-way butterfly valve. These come in several different sizes, and they can be cable operated with this little lever on the top here. You've got your inlet, and inside there's a butterfly which moves from left to right with this little lever, so you can direct your air out of either of these two outlets or share it between them. And here's a lovely little face vent. It's got a 40mm inlet, and inside is a butterfly valve which is controlled by this little wheel, so you can turn it on and off, the airflow. And the vent itself both rocks this way, and inside there are some more vanes that are directed left and right by this little lever on the top, so you can point the air very accurately where you want it, either on your face or on the screen. So you can point the air very accurately where you want it, on your face or on the side window or on your hands. Here's quite a large underdash plenum. This one's about 500mm long, about 2 feet, and it's got a 40mm inlet which is offset, so depending on how much room you've got available under your dash, you can have it this side or on the passenger side if you want to. So if your dash top is fairly flat, or even with a slight gentle curve, you can bond this under your dash at the base of the windscreen, and then cut your holes in the top of your dash, 3 or maybe 4 of them for the little vents, and space them along wherever you need them. Of course, all of these components can be used not only for heating but also for air conditioning. So let's talk a little bit about that. An air conditioning system has 4 basic major components. This is the evaporator, which goes inside the car under the dash, usually above the passenger's knees somewhere. This one has 2 matrices inside, the air conditioning coolant matrix. It's also got a heater matrix inside as well. It's got a 3-speed fan and a built-in plenum with 4 outlets. This is the condensing radiator. This is mounted usually in front of the conventional radiator, and you can put a fan on this one. You'll probably get a 10-inch fan on here as well. This is the compressor. This has got to be mounted to the engine, and it's driven from the crankshaft pulley. You may or you may not have enough grooves on your crankshaft pulley to drive an extra device like a compressor. So you may have to convert the crankshaft pulley for an extra drive belt. And this is the receiver dryer. This keeps the refrigerant clean and filtered, and the trinary switch protects all the other components with an overpressure and underpressure sensor which switches off everything should you lose refrigerant or system pressure. These 4 components are all connected together using 3 different sizes of refrigerant hose, and the unions for those hoses are all crimp unions. One end has got a thread which screws onto each particular unit, and the other end has got a crimp ferrule. The hose pushes into it, and you can take this to a local lorry hydraulic specialist which will have a crimping tool, and they'll crimp the hoses. Air conditioning and heating systems are at their most efficient when they're recycling the cockpit air, but it makes sense to have a small proportion of clean fresh air coming into the vehicle, and you can do this quite easily just by fixing a piece of 40mm ducting to the back of the air conditioning, say just between the squirrel cage fans there with a tie wrap or something, and run it out through to, say, a wheel arch or somewhere outside of the car where it can pick up clean fresh air. These compressors are considered to be universal compressors. They're plenty powerful enough for a large 4-seat saloon, and they have an easy mounting option with 4 holes on the front and back on 2 flanges. This one is a poly V belt drive, but they're also available with a double A groove belt drive like this one. And you can have the outlets on the side at the back of the compressor, or you can have them on the end at the back, whichever is most convenient for your hose runs. One of the most difficult aspects of installing air conditioning into a car is mounting the compressor, so it may be worth checking that your engine wasn't once used in a vehicle with air conditioning. If it was, then it's more likely that you'll be able to buy the brackets and the compressor specifically for your engine, save you a lot of problems. But if you're mounting one of these types of compressors, always make sure that it's dead in line with the crankshaft pulley, and make sure that you build in some sort of belt tensioning adjustment. This one has two A grooves on it, which means that you can maybe replace your alternator with this compressor, drive it with a single short belt from the crank pulley, and then drive your alternator, which you can mount somewhere else, from the second groove. Condensing radiators come in all shapes and sizes, and you need to mount this in front of your conventional radiator with maybe an inch gap between. A fan on the front will assist. If you're standing in traffic, you're not getting any airflow through there, so a fan will cut in and you can still have air con. Here's the unions for connecting up to the hoses. The dryer can be mounted pretty much anywhere, but it's usually in the engine bay on a bulkhead. And the two charging ports also need to be readily accessible, so you can charge and recharge and check your system easily. And don't forget, there's an awful lot more information about our heating and air conditioning systems in our catalogue, which you can download from our website.